Hello, my name is Rodrigo Graciano, and I'll be your host tonight. Hey, tonight because we're here in New York, in the East Coast. But if you're not in New York, please type in the chat where you're from. We really want to hear from you. And also, as you're there, where you're there, let us know if that's your first time attending the New York JavaSIG event. The New York JavaSIG event prepared a very special event for you. We want to strengthen our community, and we want to form future speakers, and we want to help you to develop your career. For this reason, we ask the members of our community with little or no experience presenting to join us in a round of lightning talks. And since we're talking about career, we will host the legend Bruno Souza, and he will give the best advice on how to grow your IT career. Before we start, I will have a few announcements to make. First, if you're not following us on social media, please follow us. Here we have our Twitter handle, and please follow us on Twitter. That's where we are more active. All of our announcements, they go on Twitter. And please follow us. Tell your friend about the NYJavaSIG event. Okay. We do have monthly events, and we have hands-on workshop. And the best of all, they are all free. Also, I want to thank our sponsors, JetBrains and Agile Learner. They are very nice. They have very good products. And every month we do raffle a license from JetBrains, a one-year license from any of the JetBrains products, and a one-year subscription to Agile Learner. And you just need to attend NYJavaSIG events to participate. Okay. But lightning talks. This is the very first time we have lightning talks at the NYJavaSIG. And I want you to welcome our speakers tonight. We have 5 speakers tonight, the lightning talks before Bruno Souza. We have Lina Felder, Janice Delvecchio, Human, Mike Redlish, and Eric Kariev. Our event starts now, and our first speaker, Lina Felder. She writes code, chases bugs, and dispenses bad life advice. Currently, she maintains Google Cloud Framework integrations such as Spring Cloud GCP and Cloud Spanner R2DBC driver. She will present Google Identity with Spring Security. Lina, please, the stage is all yours.
Hello. Let me share my screen and make it actually readable. Well, hello. Today I will speak to you about how to do authentication with Google's backend, because nobody wants to write your own. But also because Spring is one of the most popular Java frameworks, we'll figure out how to have Spring do all of the hard work for us. So Google authentication with Spring Security, it might be easier than you think. It might actually be just 3 configs and a strange code. So if you follow the tutorial for how to get that ubiquitous Google sign-in button onto your front end, you know how to use it. You click a button, and there you are. Your front end already knows who you are. What about the backend? The backend doesn't know. If the front end asks the backend, well, please, can this user have a list of something? The backend is going to say, what user? There is no user. It's the first time I'm hearing about this. Well, okay, how did the front end know? The front end went ahead and asked the authority. It asked Google. And we would ideally like the backend to do the same. Whatever you do not do this, where, well, my front end knows what who the user is. Surely can just let us friend the backend know. No, you cannot do this, because if your front end just tells the backend, this is the user, this is Yelena, then anybody can come along and spoof your front end with a modified command, with a curl command, with a different front end, and then to pretend to be your user. That's not good. Okay, well, the easy way is out. What should we actually be doing? Well, the backend should be doing the same thing the front end was doing. It should be getting an encrypted verified token, and it should be asking the signing authority for whether this token has been encrypted correctly by that signing authority, and whether this user exists and is a legitimate user. So this is what we should actually be doing. Now, how do we do it in a Spring application? Well, let me tell you a story about filter chains and or authorization abstractions. And well, this I will see you back in about 2 weeks. We, however, have about 5 minutes for this, half of it now. And it turns out the story is much simpler. Spring Security already implemented the open standard for OAuth 2 for us. And so, as it happens, did Google Authentication. So if you can get them to talk to each other, if you are, then they're just going to do all the authentication flow for you without you having to do very much work at all. So this is what it actually looks like. You're going to want a Spring Security starter for Spring Boot Starter OAuth 2 resource server, which will know how to talk to an OAuth 2 authority. That will bring in all the code that knows how to do it. But you also need to let Spring Boot know to enable the functionality, to create the beans, to wire them together, to let them know how to talk to each other. And for that, in your application properties, you're going to have a Spring Security OAuth 2 resource server JWT JWK set URI property pointing to the Google's certificate checking URL. Rolls of the tongue, doesn't it? And then if you are so inclined, if you don't want to use the standard authorization bearer header, you can also override the bearer token resolver bean and provide your own custom header that contains the secure token property. So that was much easier than learning everything about Spring Security, although we should probably learn more about Spring Security anyway. And this is how your application will use it. You have some business logic that needs doing, and the business logic wants to know who the user calling it is. You just inject an authentication object. If the authentication object magically contains your JWT token, and the token contains all the claims about who the user is and what the Google servers know about that user. So that was a 5-minute talk. Obviously, you cannot possibly remember all of those properties and the starter name. So there is a sample application available, and the good organizers will post the link to it. And then you can play with it. You can see what your front end knows about you when you implement Google Authentication, and you can figure out what your backend knows if you unwrap the same secure token and have Google check whether you are in fact a legit user. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lina. Great presentation. As was mentioned in the chat, please keep your questions. We're gonna we have 5 lightning talks, and the speakers will be answering questions after the 5 talks. And please save a lot of your questions for Bruno. Bruno loves your questions, so save the question for him. Next, please welcome Janice DeVelkio. Janice works in the financial industry using a very broad range of skills with technologies include cloud computing, process automation, and advanced unit testing and DevOps. She also volunteers at coderange.com, where she runs the Java class known as the Cattle Drive. She will present performance tuning. Where do I start? Janice, please.
Hi, everybody. Let me share my screen. Okay. So we're going to talk about performance tuning and how we get started doing performance tuning. If you walk away with no other piece of information today, just make sure you remember, if it ain't broke, there's nothing to fix. But first, I guess we have to figure out whether or not it's broken. So the very first thing that we want to do is we want to start with a specification, and whether that's a specification is something like a requirement that comes from the user, or if it's a service level agreement, or if it's a non-functional requirement, you want to make sure that you ask all your questions, right? So you'll see requirements like these and you'll say, hey, well, what does this mean, right? What does batch mean? How many users do we have? Or you know, is 1,000 records per second even enough? I mean, am I going to exceed the incoming flow of the widgets? Because remember, it's easier to ask questions than to build one of these. So since we're scientists and not computer science fictionists, what we want to do is we want to gather some evidence. The first thing that we can do to gather evidence is to use a logging framework. And I think this is one of the most underrated things in computing, because it's so much more than a log level. You can create logs so that you can mount them with Excel or a in-memory database. You can make sure that you include your thread names so that you can sort and filter on the threads that you're interested in. Increasing or decreasing log levels, you want to just make sure that when you're comparing your logs, that you're comparing the same log levels. The next thing that we can do is use a profiler. One of my favorite profilers is this JDK Mission Control. And don't feel bad if you have not heard of this before, because it was many years after I started writing code before I even knew that something like this existed. The mission control used to be included in the JDK, and it is not included in the JDK anymore. It's a separate download. But you can use this to be able to see hot methods, right? So methods that are called a lot of times, or you can use it to see your heap and CPU usage. You can use this to even just get a feeling of how things look. You're going to want to learn to use this before you have a problem. And there's plenty of other profilers out there, and you can, go on the internet and learn about all sorts of profilers. The last thing I like to use is thread dumps. When I have a process that is either taking a long time or it seems like it's stopped, I like to take a thread dump right before I kill that process or, try to recover it, because you can actually see what the JVM thinks it's doing. You can see if you're hung up on the file system or a response from the database. You can even see what the native thread is that is going on and if you're deadlocked. And a lot of people don't know that it's really super easy to get a thread dump. You can just do a kill -3 if you're on Unix. And that's really, there's no setup that you need in order to, get this information. So even if you have not, set your system up to do anything, this is something that's super easy to do. Once we have our data and we know that we're not meeting our SLAs, now we get to tune the system. It's not like tuning fish. Some of the low-hanging performance fruit is things like network and database calls. You can batch those or apply some caching by, storing the results in memory. Tiny operations, remember, they add up. If you're doing something in a loop or in a nested loop, you have to think about both your space and your time complexity. All of these, everything that you see on this screen here, these are like really the easiest things that you can look at. But an even easier thing is just to stay with the basics. Just make sure that you're writing clean code that you can understand. Make sure you can understand what it's doing. When you're concatenating, making sure that you're using the right concatenator for the job. If you're just concatenating string literals, please use the plus sign because the compiler is going to help you out. But if you're doing something like in a loop or whatever, you're going to want to make sure that you're using string builder unless you need something that's thread safe. So keep a watch on your variable scope, use primitives over objects, and your life goal should make sure that you want to write clean and performant code. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much, Janice, for your presentation on performance. Following Janice, please welcome Eric Karyev. Childhood love for chess turned into adulthood passion for coding, just as passionate about hiking and outdoor activities. Eric will present video on demand behind the scenes. Eric, welcome.
Thank you. Okay, let me share my screen. 1 second. Okay. So I'm going to present the Java role in video on demand tonight. So first, I'd like to start with the biography of mine. I'm a systems analyst with about 20 plus years of Java experience. I have been working across like all kinds of different industries: entertainment, finance, banking, education. And the last one I've actually been in is telecommunications and mass media for the past 10 years. I know everybody's wondering why this picture is here. No, it's not me. 20 years ago when I was learning Java, yeah, it's a James Gosling. He's the I guess we can easily call him a creator of Java. Just to say a few words about James Gosling, he was a lead, a team lead at Sun Microsystems. As we all remember, back 26 years ago, Sun Microsystems was actually one of the major players in consumer electronic devices. And one of the challenges they had was to make those electronic devices communicate with each other. So that's how they came up with the Java project, and James Gosling was the lead on that. So one of the promises they had as part of that, as again we all remember, was the what they call the slogan "Wara," right? Once, run anywhere. That was created obviously by Sun Microsystems, and that whole Wara principle was really, or promise was really haunting me for like 15 years, until 10 years ago when I joined one of the major telecommunications and mass media companies, where I had an opportunity now to look at all these various devices, all these hardware devices, talking to each other, and pretty much delivering on that promise of Wara. So that's how I entered the video on demand world. The way video on demand is defined by Oxford is pretty much like this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. The bottom shell, the bottom line is, it's really just a system that provides you with a menu of videos, and you pick a video, and that video, streams. That's pretty much in the bottom shell, in a nutshell. What would be the clients? What clients? I just came up with a short list, but there's more than just that. .NET, Apple TV, that we all know, set-top boxes, these various set-top boxes. We do have our own proprietary set-top boxes as well. Mobile devices are also part of that. Just something I also would like to mention, the latest trend, it's called over-the-top media service. I'm sure most of you have heard of it. It's the latest trend, and it's offering the viewers direct video on demand feature via the internet. There are no more any of those bot client devices that I just mentioned just earlier, the bullet above. So how's Java fit into all of these that we just described, right? The set-top boxes, the backend, everything. So Java on the set-top boxes, yes, we do have set-top boxes that run pure Java. We have a few million of those boxes. Now, one thing we should keep in mind is those set-top boxes were developed about roughly maybe 10 years ago, and now they've been replaced by other set-top boxes. And the trend now, like I mentioned just earlier, is the OTT, which would replace pretty much all of these boxes in the near future. That's obviously my speculation on that. Java on the backend, yes, big time, guys. When it comes to video on demand, a lot of Java backend, pretty much all of these devices I just mentioned earlier, including the OTT, by the way, all of these are talking to Java backend. So Java backend is there to stay. It's not going to go anywhere, which is obviously great news to me. And there's another part of Java, which is something that we developed internally for our operations folks, video management GUI tools that they use. The front end is different, it's not Java, but the backend again is Java. Now, what stays, what goes? Obviously, Java on set-top boxes most likely will go in a few years. What's going to stay very possibly, very likely, is the Java backend. And just a really quick summary, just really one bullet. Just if you take anything away from this presentation, is that Java shines best on the backend, and that's where we're staying at right now in our company. Thank you.
All right, thank you. This was Eric. Thank you for your presentation, Eric. I want to introduce our next speaker, Mike Redlish. Mike Redlish is a senior research technician at ExxonMobil, and active member of the Java community for the past 20 years. Mike founded the Garden State Java user group in 2011 that remains in continuous operation. And he's also Java community news editor for the InfoQ. Mike will be presenting Jakarta Nosql MongoDB. Mike?
Okay, thank you very much, Rodrigo. Let's get going. Okay. All right. What I'm presenting tonight is getting started with Jakarta Nosql and MongoDB. And Jakarta Nosql is one of the specifications in the Jakarta EE ecosystem that supports all 4 types of NoSQL databases. JNoSQL is the compatible implementation of Jakarta SQL. And you can read more about that in the links at the bottom of this README file. I did provide the URL for this repository and wanted to go through the application itself. So we have a database on one of my favorite topics, and that's beer, especially craft beer. And in this database, it's a MongoDB database, of course. And we have a few beers sitting in here already. And you can see what I've captured is the name, the brewer ID, because I have a separate collection for that, and the beer type and the ABV. And in the brewer ID, we have all the different brewers, basically who the brewer is and where they're located. So with that in mind, first thing you want to do in an application like that is use Microprofile config and basically wire up a set of configurations for the database, and you can see how to do that itself. So, this is beersDB is actually corresponds to the name of the MongoDB database. We give it a nickname here, and then you'll see that in the code. So what we do is we're going to have a Java bean for each of those collections. So we have a beer type, and it's your typical POJO, all right, where we capture everything. The only thing that's different is a beer type enum. So you have the different beer types that you can see right here. Make that a little bit bigger. All right, so that'll be used throughout the in the application itself in POJOs. What's different about this is, other than the constructor, I've added here a way to do a builder, and you'll see how that's done. All right. So there's the build method right there that takes everything together and provides a nice shiny new object of a beer. We have let's go to service. We'll need a service class here to wire everything together. We have a beer repository and a brewer repository and the getters for that. And then in the beer repository, you see here basically as an interface the methods that actually are generated behind the scenes for you. All right, and you can see what we're going to do is it has typical find bys and delete bys. And this is synonymous to JPA, if anybody's familiar with that in the relational database world. All right, and we have the same thing for let's see, we have a let's go look at a brewer or beer repository brewer service. Oh yeah, here's the brewer service, and you'll see that we inject, right? We use CDI and the property, config property. We have a template, and we're going to create a insert method here, and then the find by. And we haven't used it in the application. That's because we're going to use both. So we have a beer repository. I should have done that beer service. Okay, very similar. with defined bys. You actually create those in the service itself. This is the document query that's built in, and you use a select method and just basically all the, very similar to SQL, right? Kind of like the whole idea. So all that's pretty much the same. Now let's go to the actual application itself. Here's where all the magic comes together. All right. What we're going to do is, since this is Jakarta EE, there's the SE container. This is a Java SE class to create a container. We'll create an instance of our service with that container. All right, and we can do a couple of things. So we can, I've defined here a beer repository and a brewer repository. We use the service method to get those, and you saw those earlier in the service class. And we'll do the same thing as a beer service. We'll use a select method, and you can use either one of these. All right, what are the rooms for improvement? I'm going to get the number of documents in the collection, right, and add by one. So right now it's hard-coded, and we definitely don't want to do that. We'll create a new brewer. We'll give it a name, the city, and these are the what I showed you in each of the POJOs using the builder method here. And we'll do a save. We'll create a second brewer, Conclave Brewing in Wilmington, New Jersey, where I'm from. All right. And then we're going to do a couple of finds, and we'll get do a find by name of a brewer. We'll get that ID, and we'll use it to enter a new, in this case, 2 new beers. So we have a new beer, right, with the ID of 6, right? The name Budweiser, the type, brewer ID, ABV, and then we build it. And then we use a save method instead of insert, like you saw on the service. Yeah, insert right there. Okay. All right, then we'll create a Michelob. All right, and these are all going to be because we've asked for the Anheuser-Busch brewer ID, and we're able to do that. Then we'll find a beer by name. We'll find one that's already in the database itself. That's Southern Tier Pumpkin, one of my faves. And then we will look for any instances of beers that by that particular brewer. Okay, and then if we're feeling bold, we'll try to delete something. So let's go run this. Oops, I'm opening up the wrong one, sorry. Zoom window's in the way here. Yeah. Okay, all right, so since I made these changes earlier today, I'm gonna clean compile. And then we'll actually run the application. Of course, we have MongoDB running in the background already. I did that before we came on air here today. All right, so let's see what we found here. Well, let's take a look at Compass here. And we should have some new documents. All right, we've got 13 brewers instead of 11. So you see it added here, Anheuser-Busch and Conclave. And then we should have added 2 beers by now. Yes, we did. All right, Michelob Ultra and Budweiser. Okay, that's all set. Very good. And if we look at the output, okay, the Zoom windows have to go. It's blocking everything on me. All right, we'll take a look at. We'll scroll back. All right. So we found the brewer by name. The ID is 12. All right, we got the brewer ID by using the method itself. There we go. All right, we were adding 2 new beers, right? We found a beer by name, and I told it Pumpkin, and that was the first one that we entered, ID of 1, and what type it is. And then we found anything by Anheuser-Busch, which of course were the 2 new entries right here. So if we want to be daring, and if I have some time, I'm not timing myself, but if we want to give it a quick shot.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
Hey, yeah, I don't think you do have time.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But that's it. So visit the link. I have a full presentation in the list of links. So I appreciate your time and hope you get a chance to play with this.
All right. Thank you, Mike. All this talk about the beer made me thirsty. Okay. Our last lightning talk of the evening will be presented by Human. She's a rising junior at the MIT studying computer science, who was first introduced to Java on her high school robotics team. The title of her presentation is My Journey with Java in FRC Robotics. Human, please. Well.
Thank you for that introduction, Rodrigo. Hi, everybody. I'm Human, and today I'll be giving a quick story time on my journey with Java on my high school robotics team. So every year, there's a new game with game pieces and objectives that get your team points during a match. And on the right is the robot I helped program my senior year named Alfred. And he was about 120 pounds, 5 feet tall, and had a huge elevator that raised way above my head. So our team uses Java to program our robots. So starting out as a freshman, I gained exposure to Java tools like Eclipse and Ant. The robotics organizers also provided a library to specifically code our robots called WPILib. And after I graduated, the team switched to Gradle to build their robot code. Besides programming the controls for our drivers and operators using Java, we also had to program a 15-minute autonomous routine. This was our 2018 robot called Wildcard. And the game piece for that year were these yellow cubes that you can dispense on certain parts of the field. And this routine was called our double cube side auton. And as you watch the video, look at the robot first out of the gate, the one with 694 on the bumpers. So first, it will drive forward, turn, and then raise its elevator to score a yellow cube on the scale in the middle of the field. Then it'll turn to grab a cube on the field to score on the same side of the scale. And besides hard coding the angle a robot turns and the distance and speed it moves using sensors on a robot, our team also worked really hard to use computer vision to better score our game pieces. So we got to use cool libraries like OpenCV to detect the reflect site tape that would be on scoring sites. So reflect site tape, as shown by the yellow arrows, is tape that reflects a lot of light. So when you turn on our flashlight, we can filter out the dark pixels. Reflect site tape is placed in places on the field where you can score and place game pieces for Alfred's game. So here's our 2019 robot Alfred using computer vision to score a disk during the 15-second autonomous routine. And he is the robot also first out of the gate. He's looking to score on the side of the middle field part. So he drives forward, turns, and as he was going forward, there's this bright green light that gets shown on top of the robot, which is used to detect the reflect site tape, and it's scored. And besides the autonomous period, we also used computer vision when the driver and operator had control. So for this year, the driver could drive up to a goal and the robot can be told to align using computer vision so the driver can just drive forward and score seamlessly and no need to turn or whatever. And so once again, it's just starting off where we left. So it grabs a game piece from the side of the field, and notice again the bright green light that gets shown on the game piece. There you go, it scores again. So on my robotics team, not only did I learn Java, but I also learned a lot about leadership and teaching others as being vice president and then president of our software engineering department. In the first 3 months of school, we would teach people from all different skill levels, the basics of Java, and being on the team also taught me how to debug other people's code, because during competition, our team would help out our alliance members if, for example, they didn't have an autonomous routine or the robot was just not moving, even if they weren't coding in Java. Also fine-tuning the robot at the end of the build season, once the Mechie team was done building it to refine the auton routines, taught me a lot about troubleshooting and was probably the most fun part of the season for me. So that was my quick story time about my experience with Java and my robotics team, and I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening, and if you're curious, on the slide is a link to Alfred's code, which will also be posted in chat later. Thank you.
Great, fantastic presentation, Ewan. Thank you very much. I'm gonna
We don't have any questions for our speakers, which is kind of nice because a lot of our speakers are new to public speaking, and not having to answer questions about that is an easier way of doing it. So we can go straight on to our next speaker.
All right. So our next speaker, he is now new, very experienced speaker. I think I lack words to explain who he is. So Bruno Souza is a founder and coordinator of the Soul Java, the Java User Society. It's the largest Java user group. So since 1995, Bruno helps Java developers improve their careers. Bruno is a leader of the Soul Java. He discusses Java and the developer career in his website, Code for Life. He brought Java to Brazil, so it's no surprise that his Twitter handle is the Java Man. Bruno, we're very happy to have you here. It's an immense pleasure. Thank you very much. Please come to the stage.
I'm here.
There you are.
I'm here, yes. All right.
Very nice to see you here, Bruno.
Hey, Rodrigo, how you doing, man? Awesome. Awesome to have you here. I mean, awesome to be here. Thanks very much. So thanks to you. Thanks to Jan for receiving me here. For Frank, everyone in the New York JavaSIG, thanks a lot.
Yes, Bruno, Frank said he wanted to be here, but it's his wedding anniversary. He would be in a bad shape if he missed that. Well,
don't worry.
All the best.
Don't worry, man. Actually, I did talk with Frank on his talk at the event earlier today, so that's all fine. So not a problem at all. All right, can I get started?
Please, we're all waiting for you.
All right. It's just because I see you, not me, but I'm not sure if I'm wrong.
No, you're good. You're good. We can see you.
You good? Okay, good. All right. So I'm not sure what happened because the chat disappeared on me now. Is this like I did something? Oh, shoot. Okay. By accident, I clicked it on the wrong. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're gonna make this very, very interactive for everyone, right? So if you if you're watching here on the chat, I want to say hello, right? Tell me where you're from, because I've seen a couple of people already there on the chat. I think I saw Mohammed saying that where Mohammed said he was from. Okay, I don't see there. All right, but some people said hello. All right, so tell me where you're from, right? So we can have a conversation. I want to make this very, very interactive because it's about your career. It's not about what I want to say. It's about your career, right? So Michael says Flemington, New Jersey. So hey, Michael, that's great. Actually, let me start by saying, the guys everyone in the Lightning Talks did an awesome job, right? I even think about the person that talk about performance, right? We actually have a series called the low hanging series, right? With a lot of tips like you're doing. You should write an ebook with us for the low hanging books, right? That's awesome. Okay, so I see Rodrigo from New York, Niha from New Jersey, Potential Power. I think that's Scott from Houston, right? Awesome. So Adar Mirak from New Jersey too. Karen from Brooklyn, New York. Awesome. So good to have you all here. Oh, Mohammed from Jordan. I remember Mohammed said something. All right. Yeah. Okay. So awesome to have you all here. It's so good to have this great conversation. And everyone from the Lightning Talks, thank you very much for doing this, right? I know you're just starting. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to present, but that's the way to go, because that's what we're going to talk about actually here. You're already doing the third step here for growing your career. You're already doing the visibility part, right? So let's talk about, so what I want to do here is I'm going to talk a little bit about the 3 things you can do to get your career moving to the next level. But I want to see your questions from you. So tell me, what's the biggest problem that you have in your career right now? What's the biggest challenge you're facing in your career? What is it you want to achieve that you don't know how to do, because we're going to answer your questions all the time, right? So Barry from New Jersey, right? Is that the way I speak, or that's the way you speak? Or I don't know. Okay.
It's pronounced New Jersey.
Oh, it's pronounced New Jersey?
New
all right.
Jersey. That's the way we are supposed to pronounce it here.
Okay, all right. So I'm doing wrong, right? So New Jersey. All right. I'll learn. So thanks, Barry. All right. So so tell me, what's the biggest challenge you're facing in your career, right? So I'm gonna be discussing this with you. So 3 things you can do to improve your career. First of all, it's the skills. You know, software developers in general, Java developers in particular, right? We have this, what I'm going to say, compulsion or vice, right, for learning. We want to learn. That's the thing we talk about all the time, right? We want to learn everything. Lots of people ask me, oh, you know, don't you get overwhelmed by trying to learn everything? You have to learn so many new things. You have to learn. And let me tell you one thing. It's not about learning. It's not about learning at all, right? The whole thing, the only thing that makes a big difference for your career is skills, right? And skills is, it's basically your ability, right? Skills to do things. And skills, we don't get skills by learning. We only get skills by doing, right? So really, you got to do, right? So I love the robots lightning talk, because that's it, right? You got to do it. There's no way to learn. No better way of learning programming than just kind of, having to get a robot like a gigantic, because that looked like a gigantic robot, right? Getting a gigantic robot to move on the field. That's the way for you to learn programming. It's when you do things, right? When you actually try and experiment and try to solve problems. So go ahead and try to do. Now, the one thing, 5 foot tall, 125 pounds, right? Yeah. I don't deal foot nor pounds, right? So I saw the video, right? No, it's huge, All right. Okay. From my Dungeons and Dragons time, right? I know that 5 foot tall is about, a little less than 2 meters. So that's pretty big. All right. Okay. So, we got to do things, right? So anything you want to learn, right? So if you want to learn, like Mike was presenting, the MongoDB things, right? If you want to learn that, go do a project, do something with it. Don't just go to do a tutorial. Don't simply go and watch a video, watch a presentation. You got to experiment, get a little project, do something for you, do something for someone in your family, do something, I don't know, for your church, for your club, for your sports team, do something, for the bakery in the corner, whatever. Go do a small project. It doesn't need to be a huge project, but do a small project, right? Because there are 5 top skills that developers need, right? And the 5 skills are, 3 skills are software developer based, right? So you have to learn to read code, write code, deliver code. Those are 3 basic skills for developers. Read code, write code, deliver code. I think it's amazing how many people only focus on the writing code, right? Reading code is extremely important. It's one of the most important skills that developers have to have. And delivering code, getting code in the hands of someone, it's amazingly important. So that's why when you do a tutorial, what's missing, right? The tutorial is usually missing the reading code part, right? Because you don't actually read the code, just kind of copy and paste. So don't do that. Not very good. You have to read the code, understand the code. And a lot of the developers don't deliver the code to anyone, right? You think you do a tutorial, and what you don't do anything with it. So deliver the code, get someone using. That's why you need to get a problem. And that's the 4th skill, right? The 4th and most important skill, what makes you a developer, is the 4th skill, that you solve problems. A developer solves problems by reading, writing, and delivering code, right? So, we have to get in the habit of find a problem to solve and focus on solving it. So if you do that, that's the way for you to acquire skills. Now, the 5th base skill for developers is what we're going to talk about on the visibility part, is exactly what people here are doing. Go share, right? Go share your knowledge. So you read, write, and deliver code to solve a problem. Now go share that. Explain to people what you did. Explain to people how you solved their problem. That's the way for you to actually have to improve as a developer. So you have skills. It's not about learning. Skills is about doing, right? So Neha says, I spent years trying to do tutorials, right? But that doesn't happen unless you actually implement in the real world. Exactly. And one problem that we see a lot, and I'm sure, you know, if you just try to learn something, just try to run a tutorial, what happens is you learn something, you study, you read a book, and then, I don't know, 6 months later, a year later, you have a chance to apply. What happens? You don't remember anything anymore, right? So they have to go back and have to reread the books or rewatch the tutorials because you don't remember, right? So you spend twice the time, right? One to learn and another one to learn again for you to actually use. So learn things to use, learn and use. That's how you create the skills that you need, right? And so skills. Now, the one problem with skills is the following: developers like to talk about hard skills or soft skills, right? And then we divide the skills in those two things, right? We divide the skills into hard skills and soft skills, right? And then since you're developers, someone told you that the hard skills are the technical skills, right? So then we developers say, okay, we're gonna focus on the hard skills, right? That's what we need. And I see this all the time, people saying, yeah, no, hard skills, that's the important thing. I need to learn the hard skills. I need to focus on the hard skills. And then people tell you, yeah, the softer skills are the communication skills, right? So, oh, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with communication. I don't want to present things. I don't want to do any of that. But the problem is, that's the wrong definition of hard and soft skills, right? So let's first understand the definition of hard and soft. Hard skills are not hard because they're difficult. They are hard because they are precise. Hard skills are actually precise skills, right? What do I mean by precise skills? It means that every time you apply that skill, it's precise. You do it the same way. Let me give you a good example of a precise or hard skill. Typing on the keyboard. That's a hard skill. Why? Because, you know, once you know how to type the keyboard, the more precise you put your fingers in the right place, the more precise is the movement of your finger, the better you get. The more exact you do it. You do it the same. You have to do this exactly the same way, right? That's what hard skill is. You apply it the same way. So like playing a guitar. Playing a guitar is a hard skill. You know, you have to put your fingers in the exact place for you to be able to play, right? So a hard skill is something that's precise. You do exactly the same way every single time, right? And so, and I'll tell you, there are some hard skills for software development, like typing on the keyboard is a hard skill, right? Your programming language, Java, right? Knowing the Java language, it's a hard skill. It's a precise skill. You can't just put your semicolons anywhere, right? You can't just type whatever you want. You have to be very, very precise, right? So, so those are examples of hard skills. Now, what is a soft skill? A soft skill is a malleable, right? It's a malleable skill. What do we mean by that? It's a skill that it's applied differently every single time you apply. So a soft skill, it's not about repetition. Soft skill is what we call pattern matching. You recognize a pattern and you apply differently, right? So let me ask you, what do you see? What do you do every day, right? That is always different, that you have to think on how to apply, right? That you never do the same thing twice, right? Because, you know, if you did it once, you don't need to do it again, right? So what is this? And then you have to be, you know, it's always a surprise for you, right? What is this? It's called software development, right? So software development, it's a soft skill, right? So that is one of the biggest mistakes that developers make in terms of skills. We think that software development is a hard skill, but it's not. Software development is a soft skill. And why does it even matter, right? And by the way, in general, most things that we do is a combination between hard skill and soft skill. For example, You know, playing basketball, that's a soft skill, right? Because it's, you know, it's the game, right? It's malleable. You have to change things up. But you know, throwing the ball in the hoop, it's a hard skill because it's a precise, there is a technique for you to do a hard skill, right? That's one thing that people get confused with, because they say, oh, hard skill are technical skill. Yeah, but they're not technical of technology. It's technical of technique, right? So you type on the keyboard, it's not technology, it's a technique. There's a technique that for us to type on the keyboard. That's a hard skill. A hard skill has a technique. A soft skill, it's malleable, it's pattern matching, right? So if what you do is a soft skill, what does that has to do with everything, right? Well, the difference here is, how do we learn? How do we acquire the skill, right? The way to acquire the skill is different between the soft skill and the hard skill. So how we do it? You know, a hard skill, we improve it by repetition, right? By specific repetition, by precise repetition. That's why you learn to type on the keyboard, by typing on the keyboard and doing those exercises to type on the keyboard. It's a precise thing. That's why, for example, you're going to learn how to apply Java. You do code katas, right? You know, code katas is an exercise that you repeat the same exercise over and over and over again. Why? Because you want to ingrain in your brain the precise way of doing that, so you don't have to be thinking about it. You can just do it, right? That's what a hard skill is. Now, how do we learn? How do we improve in a soft skill? A soft skill is pattern matching, right? So for you to improve in a soft skill, you have to do different situations. The only way for you to improve in a soft skill is if you put yourself on different situations. If you put yourself on you know, because that's what it is, right? You have to understand how to apply this skill differently depending on the situation you are. So that's why software development, the only way for us to learn software development is putting ourselves in different situations, right? You know, you get the robot and you have to solve different problems. You know, it's not the same problem. If you try to solve the same problem over and over, you're not going to get better as a software developer. So that's why if you want to learn new things, if you want to acquire new skills, you have to do. But do what? Since software development is a soft skill, you have to put yourself in different situations, right? So go write code in all kinds of different situations, right? Don't just write code for your company. Don't just write code for server side. Don't just write code for one specific type of problem. Write code for everything, right? Write code in lots of different situations, right? Write code under stress. Write code when you have lots of time. Write code that has to be delivered in a short amount of time. Write code that you can improve many times. You know, you have to put yourself, the more you put yourself in different situations, the better a developer you're going to be. So that's the most important thing about skills, is that we only get skills by doing, and we have to understand what are the skills, what kind of skills we have. Are we trying to improve a hard skill, or are we trying to improve a soft skill? If it is a precise skill, you do repetition, repetition, repetition. If it is a soft skill, you put yourself in different situations. Make sense, right? Let me see here for some question here. Should I learn all new technologies or pick my favorites, right? I always get confused about that. So that's very, very good question. I know the other ones. I'm just trying to answer the question that has something to do with what I'm talking right now. I'm going to answer everything here. So, you know, should I learn all new technologies or pick my favorites? So basically, Niha, I just said, it's not about learning. It's about doing, right? It's about doing. So can you do things with every new technology? No way. There's no time for that, right? There's absolutely no time for you to do things with every new technology. So I think you should not necessarily pick your favorites, right? But here's the big thing. Okay, so if I'm going to do skills and I can only learn a skill by doing, which skills should I focus on? And that's a very, very good question. It's about focus, right? So which skills should I focus? Actually, let me get this. All right, I think that's better. All right, that's a lot better. All right, so what kind of skills should I focus on, right? And here It's one of the biggest difficulty that we have, because every time we talk about focus, there is a little thing that jumps in our heads. There is what we call FOMO, right? The FOMO is the fear of missing out, right? It's the fear of missing out. So we want to learn everything, like you're saying, Neha, because we fear, if I don't learn this, I'm going to miss something. If I don't learn this, I'm going to miss the next project. If I don't learn everything, maybe they're not going to hire me tomorrow. If I don't learn everything, I'm maybe be out of the market, right? Or something like this. So we have the fear of missing out every time we talk about focus, right? So what we do, we say, that's Rodrigo's question, right? To be a specialist or generalist, right? So we say, oh, I want to be a generalist because I don't want to focus on anything, right? I don't want to be a specialist because a specialist, I'm going to miss something. If I specialize in this, I'm not going to be able to do the other thing. If I'm a specialist in Java, then I cannot learn Kotlin, but I want to learn everything. So because of the fear of missing out, I don't want to be a specialist. I want to be a generalist, right? I'm going to talk about this in a minute. But the reality is, that focus is not about the technology. Focus is not about which technology you choose, right? It's not about the language. Those are tools. Java is a tool. Any new technology you learn, microservices, Java, Jakarta EE, whatever, right? All of these are tools. Artificial intelligence, it's a tool. It's a tool for what? To solve problems, right? It's a tool to solve problems. Now, here is the secret of focus. You don't focus on tools, right? You focus on problems. What is the problem that you want to solve? What kind of problems are interesting for you? What kind of problems are you interested in solving? So Neha, that's the thing you should ask yourself. So what kind of problems do you want to solve, right? Do you want to solve problems that big companies have? You want to solve problems that small companies have? Do you want to solve problems that to save the planet? Do you want to solve problems to get people better situation in their lives? What is the problem that you want to solve, Neha? Because once you understand what is the problem that you want to solve, then here's the secret. You can learn and apply any technology, any tool that makes sense for your problem. Make sense, Neha? Right? So then you're not confused anymore. Look, I'll tell you what. My roof here is a wood roof, right? And my closet right there is also wood. And I tell, when I hire someone, if my roof was leaking about a couple of months ago, right? If I hire someone and the guy comes in and he say, Bruno, don't worry, I'm going to fix your roof because I'm a specialist in hammers. What do? Do I hire that guy? No way. I don't want a specialist in hammers fixing my roof, right? I want a specialist in roofs to fix my roof. Whatever tools, he might use lots of tools to fix my roof. And by the way, he's going to use the same tools as a guy to fix my closets, right? Now, here's the thing. I don't hire the roof guy to fix my closet, nor vice versa, because they're different problems. And, although they use the same tools, it's completely different problems. So that's what you need to do, Neha. You need to think about what is the problem that you want to solve. And once you know the problem you're going to solve, you can learn absolutely every single tool that you want. So for example, people that are working on server-side Java, they've been using so many different tools. They use Java. Before Java, they use things like Corba and C++ application servers, right? There's crazy time those times. But then today, they use Java, they use Jakarta EE, they use Spring, they use all kinds of problems, all kinds of tools to solve the server-side problem, right? And and I don't understand when people say, oh, am I a Java EE guy or am I a Spring guy? Well, if you're solving server-side problems, maybe both tools work for you, right? But if you focus on solving problems using Java EE, that's a different thing. Make sense? So what you need to do, Neha, is figure out what problem you want to solve. Once you understand what problem you want to solve, that's going to make a big difference for you. Now, then there's a question from Rodrigo. Am I a specialist? Should I be a specialist or generalist? Well, let's think about this. Software developers are less than 1/4 of 1% of the population. You are the specialist of the specialist of the specialist. You are uber specialist already, right? So why do you think you should choose between being a generalist or being a specialist if you already are a specialist, right? You know, there's very few things in the planet they're as a specialist as you are right now. So, you know, I think that once you are a software developer, you know, you're already a very, very good specialist. And what is the problem that you solve, right? And by the way, a generalist, it's also a specialist, right? A generalist is specialized in solving generic problems, right? But even a generalist doesn't solve any generic problems, right? You know, he focuses on some type of problems that he solves, all right? So my suggestion to you is don't be afraid of being a specialist. This question, being generalist or specialist, it's also a formal question. I want to be a generalist because the fear of missing out. What if I'm specialized on something and then the word changes and I get lost? Because you're thinking about tools. If you think about problems, the word can change many times over and you're still going to be needed, right? So don't worry about the fear of missing out. Figure out a problem that you solve very well, right? You know, you could be solving, for example, you solve problems on the finance industry. I think that's very normal in New York. You solve problems in the finance industry. That's you know, a good mindset. But how about you solve problems on the finance industry of credit card frauds? That's a more specific problem. What if you know, solve fraud problems on the financial industry, you know, using artificial intelligence? That's even a better problem, right? That's an awesome problem. So, you know, I solve problems in the financial market of frauds, right? Fraud detection using artificial intelligence in the cloud with Java. Whoa, right? That's a very, very specific. Maybe the with Java is a little bit more like a tool thing, but you know, that's a very, very good statement right there, where you're very clear what you do, and then what kinds of tools you need to solve problems with credit card fraud in the finance industry. Oh man, you need so many tools, right? And the interesting thing about that is that, you know, this whole thing about focus, right? And being a generalist and a specialist, that's how it works. You know, focus is not focused on Java, right? You know, you could focus, well, there is come on, let me just say, you can focus on Java if you want to. Yes. How? If you build the tool, you're probably specialists on the tool, and that's okay, right? You know, I'm sure there are people that are specialized in hammers. There are people specialized in hammers head. There are people specialized in hammers handles, right? So yes, you have those super specialists if you want, right? That they're specialized on tools, and I think that's also valid, right? Now, what we really want to do is, you know, thinking about the focus here, right? You know, you have Java and you have like clouds, right? And then you have here, I mentioned the finance industry, for example, right? And then you have, so you have all those domains, right? When you have a focus on the problem, your focus on the problem, it's going to be something like this, right? You know, it's going to be way more than Java. You know, your focus is going to be right here. So that's way more than Java because you know so many other things. But at the same time, it's way less than Java because you don't need to worry about everything in Java. You just need to worry about the things, the Java things that are related to the problem that you solve. Make sense? All right, I'm just going to unlock the computer here. Okay, make sense? Yes, Neha. All right, makes sense. Neha says makes sense now. Awesome, good point. Okay, that's awesome. So, you know, so try to figure out where is the problem that you want to solve, and that will get you a long way in terms of finding the right skills. Okay, so let me see here what else question we have. Mohammed says, currently I'm amateur degree student. I'm a master degree student of computer science. I want to create small library and tool for best feature selection based optimization algorithms and increase my skills in JDBC. Okay, well, man, I think that's an awesome thing. You know, this whole data stuff, right? You know, if you're very good in data, and you talk about JDBC here, so I'm assuming that you're very good in data. Data is an awesome thing right now, right? Now, I'm not sure, Mohammed, if you want to be a specialist on JDBC, right? And that would get you to be an awesome opportunity for you to work with, you know, the big database vendors, or, you know, or everyone actually accessing data that needs a specialist in JDBC, so you can improve the performance of JDBC, you can improve the performance of the queries, you can connect, you know, make it more secure, faster, more reliable, so you can work on that problem, right? Or if you want to be a little bit you know, a little bit larger, right? Where JDBC is just a part of the whole discussion around data, right? So that's awesome. So Neha says, I really feel like I'm in person talking to Bruno. Feel so okay, awesome, man. So yeah, come on, send me more questions so we can talk even more. That's great, right? So you want to be a data scientist. Okay, so Mohammed say you want to be a little larger, right? So we want to be a data scientist. And so I think that's awesome, Mohammed, because then, you know, there's a lot of problems around data science that I think is great for you to learn and to improve your skills. Okay, so let me see, now that we understand that, let me see your question specifically. Mohammed says, I think that I would like to always use Java, but problems determine what tools or framework I should use. You're right. So actually, the thing is, once you know what problem you're going to try to solve, and so I'm going to be a data scientist, right? I'm going to solve problems. So once you have that, it's a lot easier for you to find which tools you need to learn, which tools you need to be good at, which tools you need to master for you to do those kind of things. So that's great, right? Barry says, how do you block out the feeling that you're missing something important when you narrow your focus? Well, you know, here, Barry, I'm just going to do an analogy here, right? So I'm not, you know, if you have that feeling, you have to understand exactly what you're missing, right? That's kind of the point, right? You know, because look, if you are a specialist, you get to work on more interesting projects. And so there's nothing better for you than work on interesting projects. So if you narrow your focus, right, you're gonna be the person that's gonna be called to work on the most amazing projects. So let me make an example here. You know, there are people, and because there's two kinds of problems, Barry, you know, you can solve very small problems that lots of people have, right? Or you can solve a very, very big problem that very few people have. So for example, you know, getting a taxi, it's a very small problem, right? Very, very small problem, right? You just go in the street, you do like this, you get a taxi, right? Now, Uber is trying to solve that problem for millions of people, millions of taxi drivers all over the world. So that's a great thing. You solve a very small problem for lots of people. You know, posting a microblog on Twitter, very small problem. I mean, you can do a Twitter-like application as a weekend project, right? You know, actually, that's how Twitter started. So, but solving the problem of having millions, billions of people posting things every day, that's a very big problem. So, no, you can solve, you know, you can solve a very small problem for lots of people and make it very big. That's one way of solving a problem. Now, the other type of problem is that this like very, very complex problem that very few people have. So for example, you know, if you're going to send a spaceship, like a rover to Mars, right? Like how many people have that problem, right? Like, you know, there's NASA and the Chinese, and, you know, like there's like 3-4 groups in the planets they're trying to get a rover Mars, right? So that is a huge complex problem that very few people have. That's what SpaceX is trying to do. SpaceX is trying to solve this big problem of sending rockets into space. You know, who buys rockets from SpaceX? It's NASA, right? It's like not a lot of people in the planet. So you can have those two kinds of things. So you have to understand, Barry, what kind of problems you want to solve, right? You know, where do you want to fit in all these situations? So let's give an example here. So if you fix roofs, let's talk about roofs again. If you fix roofs, right? And you fix like home roofs, right? I mean, there's millions of homes all over the world that you can fix and can make lots of money by fixing roofs in the houses, right? Now, if you're a specialist in fixing roofs for big buildings, there's not going to be as many, right? There's going to be less projects for you to work on. if you're a specialist in fixing roofs for big buildings, for big churches, well, that's even less buildings for you to fix, right? If you're a specialist in fix roofs for big buildings, for big churches, from the medieval era, I mean, that's even less. There's just a very, very few churches like this for you to fix. But you're going to be the person called to fix the roof on Notre Dame. So what do you want? Do you want to be the person that fixes roofs in people's houses, or you want to be the person that fixes Notre Dame's roof? It's both things are great, right? Both things can make you lots of money. Both things can make you very happy, but you have to decide which one do you want. So when you say that I'm losing something, I'm missing something, what exactly are you missing, right? Because actually, if you're a specialist, you might be winning things that no one else can do. You might be the only person that can do these amazing things that no one else can do. So you're not missing anything. Now, if you just focus on everything, you never get specialized, and so you miss the big projects. So you have to decide what is it you want. Make sense, Barry? So it's not about everything you're doing, you're missing something. That's the thing you have to understand. Every opportunity, you're missing something. So you have to choose what is the thing that you really care. What's the thing that really matters for you? What's the thing that really can make a difference, right? Every morning I discover 10 new things that I want to investigate, right? Oops. It takes me an hour to remind myself that I have to focus on today's immediate problems, right? Okay, so Barry, here's the thing. I understand the feeling. So I'm going to tell you how the top developers solve that problem that you have. It's basically that's the answer James Gosling gave. That's the answer that a lot of the top developers do. So when you hear something and you hear some new information, right? Whatever, there's a new technology that you heard about. You have to understand the technology, what it is, right? You understand what it is, what's the general idea, how it works generally, not specifically, generally how it works, what kind of technology it is. Is this a web framework? Is this a database? Is this a data thing? Is this a communication stuff? What it is, and what's for, what problem it solves. So just ask you those 3 or 4 questions, right? So what is this thing, right? Oh, this new shiny stuff here, what it is. Oh, it's a pen, right? And how it works. Okay, yeah, it works. Okay, it works like a pen. It has a paint here. Okay, good. What's used it for? Oh, this is a different pen because when I write on the board, it can be erased. Okay, that's it. Now I know what this is. So what can I do? Save in my brain, right? Put nicely stored in my brain. And now I know when I need to solve that problem, I know what I'm going to look for. I know what I need to learn. So then, Barry, this is a great way for you, first of all, right? Every morning you discover 10 new things you want to investigate. So you just do this quick investigation I'm just telling you about, right? It's very quick. It's going to take you like 5 to 10 minutes for each one of those, right? So then you investigate all of them, and then you ration your brain. Okay, so those things I'm going to need when I have that problem. So now when you have the problem, when someone can say, hey, Barry, I need to write something on the board, and you say, yeah, I know what you need. Let me understand more how that thing works. And then, Barry, then you can learn and go deep and do some project with that thing that you know exactly what it is. So this is how the top developers solve that problem by basically, people call it different things, right? But by basically creating a archiving system, right? So you know a little bit of everything, but none of them you go deep, and none of them you actually do anything with it. But you know what it is. You make a catalog, right? I know what it is, and I know this is like this, right? So for example, I don't know, you get the new JavaScript framework. What it is? Oh, it's a JavaScript framework. It's a web framework. It works by having things in JavaScript and connecting back to the server. Okay, so I know what that thing is, right? Programming language. So Kotlin and AFOL and whatever language shows up. So what that is? What kind of language that is? Okay, so that's an object-oriented language. That's a functional language. Oh, what's different then from this language to the other? Okay, that's different. Okay, good. That's enough for you, Barry, to know that you know what it is, right? but you don't need to, you know that you don't know, right? But you know that when you need it, you can just go and learn it. And because look, with the many years that you have in your career, Barry, I can guarantee that anything that people throw at you, you can learn like this, right? You know, if a new customer comes to you tomorrow and say, man, I really need this project here on this crazy new programming language here, I can guarantee you that you get the problem, and in a couple of days, you're going to learn enough to start working on it, right? So why are you going to need all this time to try to learn everything before you actually need it? So that's why you got developers, Java developers know the power of the JIT, right? The just-in-time compiler. But let's create another. Let's think about another JIT, the just-in-time learning, right? You know, just-in-time learning is exactly like the JIT, right? You only learn when you need it, and that's going to save you a lot of time. You know, it might not save you time on the exact moment you need, but it's going to save a lot of time, you know, for everything else that you're going to do. Make sense, Barry? Hopefully that is, you know, a general idea here that can help you out, right? So Mohammed says, very nice. Thanks a lot, Mohammed. Good. All right. So let me see here. What else? A question here. If I know where I want to be in the next 1 to 3 years, but not sure to plan the steps, what do you suggest, right? Junior to senior developer to manager position. Okay, so that's a great question. Rodrigo, did you talk about this before and we arranged it for that? That was a great question, because here I'm gonna give you a gift. How about that? I don't know how to give the gift that everyone in the video shows up. So guys, you help me out with this. Thanks, Barry. Thanks a lot. So I'm gonna give you a gift. I wrote a book called The Best Developer Year. Oh, I know. I can just share in the video. Okay, The Best Developer Year. It's a book that helps you plan exactly that, Rodrigo. So if you want to make a plan for the next 3 years, and then, you know, think about how to get there, that's a great book for that. So I'm just gonna do here, best year. So I'm gonna put the link here in the chat, but let me how do I do this? Can I share screen here really quick? All right, let me just quickly share oh man, it's not here. All right, let me, oops. Okay, all right.
It's here on chat that we put on the YouTube, the link.
Yeah, I put in YouTube. Okay, so I'm just gonna go because Jane said, you know, it's better that we have
So we say things out loud in addition to putting them in the chat, so that if anyone's just watching the video, they get to know.
Exactly. Thank you, Jen. Okay, that's it. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do here. So let me just go here, and since it's a URL, how about I just show it, right? Okay. So you know, that's the book. It's called The Best Developer Year, right? So I'm gonna give you guys for free this book. It's gonna help you exactly make this 4 steps to take your plan for you to take action, 4 steps for you to plan and get anywhere you want, right? And so you go to this URL here, you know, jav.mn/best year, and you know, you get that. There's 2 things going to happen if you do that, right? That's going to be great. One is going to get this ebook that will help you do exactly that. Rodrigo will help you plan for the next few years, and you know how to get there, right? So it's going to help you see what you need to do to get yourself there. And the second thing is going to happen. You don't need this, Rodrigo, but maybe some other people might need that. Is that you're going to get an email from me, because I'm going to send an email for you with the book. So when you get an email from me, you have my contacts. You can send me back and say, Bruno, you did not answer that question, or I wasn't there. I was just watching the recording. So I really want to ask this question for you. You can send me your questions, and then we can have a conversation. All right.
Bruno,
so, yeah,
I tried the URL, and either I typed it wrong or it doesn't work. You have a very cute bird on your 404 page, but like, someone else try in the chat? Is it just me?
I don't know. I can just do here. How about if I come here and just do here and say jav.mn/best year.
Yeah.
It should work. Oh, there's no HTTPS, please. It's just HTTP. Yeah, it should work.
Oh, well, that would do it.
All right. Okay, it did work for me, says Neha. So yes, it's working. Okay, Good. All right, stop sharing back here. All right. So, but Rodrigo, you know, I think I love the fact that you want to get somewhere, right? And the cool thing about planning is the following, right? All right. The cool thing, I'm not going to erase this. The cool thing about planning is the following. People say, oh, I want to get here, right? I'm right here. I want to get there. And then what people do, they say, I don't know. I don't know if I want to get there. What if I want to get somewhere else, right? What if I never get there? What, you know, and so then basically we get into decision paralysis, right? We can say, I don't know what I want. So I'm just going to be planning. And so when I have exactly what I want, I'm going to start moving. But then, you know, then our goals change, right? And then I'll keep planning and I never get anywhere because I never do anything. So how do you plan things, right? You know, you have a general idea. All right, I want to be somewhere around here, right? You got a general idea. And then what you got to do is that you do a step forward. Just do one step, do one thing towards that direction, right? You know, oh, I want to be a senior developer, for example. Well, if you want to be a senior developer, what is a senior developer? So I'm going to just Google to find out what is a senior developer. What are the skills a senior developer have? So I'm just going to do one step towards that thing there, right? And so now that I did one step, I can look around and I can see the landscape better, right? And oh yeah, being a senior developer is like that. So I'm just going to go one more step that way. And then when I'm here, I figured out, you know what? A senior developer is actually not here. A senior developer is actually right here. I need to learn something different than I was thinking. Okay, so now I can do a step that direction, right? And then, you know, oh, and then I found out it's actually right here. So I can do a step in that direction. And then, you know, the more I do, the clearer it gets, and then I can adjust along the way. The best comparison that I have you ever seen a dog chasing a car or chasing a motorcycle or a bicycle or something like this? So the dog, you know, there is a bicycle right here going that direction, right? So the dog, you know, I don't know how to draw a dog, but okay, let me just do this dog right here, right? So this crazy dog here, right, is trying to chase the motorcycle, right? Looks like more like a rat instead of a dog, but okay, that's fine. All right, let's do it like this. Okay, that looks a lot more like a dog. Okay, better. All right, so the dog's trying to chase the bicycle, but the dog does not understand that the bicycle is going to be there. So what does the dog do? The dog, actually, it's better if you just do, it's better if you do the dog here. Let's say the dog is right here. Okay. All right. So the dog's right here, right? So the dog doesn't know where the bicycle is going to be. So the dog does what? It runs towards the bicycle, right? But then the bicycle moves. And every time the bicycle moves, the dog adjusts its position, right? Because the bicycle moves here, 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 here. And the dog adjusts its position until it gets to the bicycle, right? So the dog doesn't, because it would be easy for the dog to just run here. That's what we try to do. We say, oh, you know what? My future is going to be right here. So I want to plan everything. I want to make sure that the whole world aligns and moves in the right direction so I can run to this point. And when I get to this point, everything else is going to be there. But we don't know. We don't know where the bicycle is going. We don't know where the world is going to go. We don't know which technology is going to be. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if COVID is going to hit. Well, we don't know, right? So what we do, we go where we see. And we adjust, we do steps towards what we see, and we adjust along the way, right? Because what's going to happen is that we guarantee we're going to get where we want to get. Make sense? All right. Okay. Let me see what else question we have here. Can you copy and paste the link in the chat? That works. Thanks. Okay, good. All right. Okay, thanks a lot. So did I miss any of the questions in the beginning? I think not, right?
No,
Nia says spent years trying to do tutorials, right? But that doesn't happen. Yes, we talk about this, right? So yes, you got to implement. You got to make something real for that to happen. Okay, I think I answered all the questions so far. Let me see what else here. Mohammed says, it's very nice to watch you, but it's 2:30, 15 in the morning to Jordan. Yeah, okay, we have only 15 more minutes, and Mohammed, if you can be a little bit longer, that's fine. But I understand totally, man. That's not a problem. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for staying that long. It was awesome to have you here. I'll definitely rewatch this video. Thanks a lot. Awesome. Thanks, man. Okay, so yeah, so no more questions. So let me talk about the other two things here that we said we're going to talk about, right? You know, now that you know the skills, right? Now that you're actually making things. So very, very important thing is collaboration, right? Collaboration can completely change your life. And the reason collaboration can change your life, well, first of all, when you collaborate with someone, it's a lot easier for you to keep doing things, right? You know, it's a lot easier for you to keep doing things if you collaborate with others. Why? Well, simply, right? You know, I'm here with Rodrigo Graciano, right? Rodrigo's my friend. Rodrigo says, hey, Bruno, let's do a talk on the JavaVisig group. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So, you know, I'm going to be, Rodrigo, I'm so tired, man. I'm not sure if I want to do the talk today. And he's like, Bruno, but you know, you promised me, right? So let's do it together. And so, okay, yes, let's do it. So when you collaborate with people, you have a bigger chance of doing things, right? That's one point. But the most important thing is that when you collaborate with people, you create trust. People that you collaborate with trust you, right? And there's no other thing more important for your career than trust. You know, if you have trust, everything can happen. You know, and the phrase I like to say is, you know, when people trust you in what you know, right? When they need what you know, they call you and not someone else. So when people trust you on what you know, when they need what you know, they call you and not someone else. So what that means, it means that you get the most interesting projects. You get to work on the most amazing companies. You get to work on the cool stuff. Why? Because people trust you and they call you and not someone else. Because look, up to 75% of the positions in the IT industry, 75% of the positions, the best positions, by the way, are filled by trust and not by a curriculum, right? 75% of the positions are filled by trust. People trust you, they call you, you get the job, right? People trust you, they call you, and you are hired as a consultant for the company, right? So trust is the most important thing. So because of that, when you collaborate with people, that's when you build trust. When you collaborate with people, people start trusting you. Why? Because, you know, they see your collaboration, they see what you do, they see your participation. Now, collaboration is awesome, right? And here, you know, we have community work, volunteer work, open source projects. All of these are going to be collaboration things, right? So organize this meetup here, for example, right? So Rodrigo, Gianni, Barry, you know, all of you guys are here working to collaborating to make this thing here. But collaboration, trust has a limit, right? Because I can only trust you, right, if I know you. I cannot trust you if I don't know you. If I never heard about you, I can, you know, I can, you know, if I know Barry, right, or and there's a project that we need something that Barry knows, I can, because people trust me, I can suggest Barry, and then people kind of get a little bit of my trust to Barry so they can start trusting Barry. But that's not enough, because people need to know, you know, if more people knew Barry, then more people would trust him. So here's the catch. The catch is visibility, right? You know, if you don't have visibility, it's very hard for you to collaborate. So even though you have these skills, right, if no one knows you, no one trusts you, right? So the full idea is the following. If you share, so sharing makes a difference. If you share what you know, people know what you know. And when they know what you know, they trust you on what you know. And because they trust you on what you know, if they need what you know, they call you and not someone else. So the trick of is not only trust by skills or by collaboration, is trust by sharing. So you get these skills, you collaborate with your friends to get these skills to be better, and then you share what you know, so people trust you on what you know, and they call you on what you know. So going back to the question from Barry, right? That, every day there's something that I want to learn, right? There's every day. So, Barry, if you decide what is that you want to do, if you decide what is the thing that's important for you, you can start sharing on the things that are important for you, because once you do that, people are going to trust you on your sharing, and then you get to work on the project you're interested in, right? So that is the way for us to really do, the sharing, right, is what integrates this whole thing here. Because the interesting thing about sharing is that sharing builds collaboration, builds trust, but also builds skills, right? All of you know this. Rodrigo, Johnny, Barry, all these speakers here today know this, right? When you share something with someone, what happens, right? You learn more, right? You get better. When you share something with someone, you get better. Why? Because for you to share something, you have to understand it. And so the more you share, the more you understand, the better you get. And so the spiral of growth that happens is the following. Here's a spiral of growth, right? That combines those three things here. So, you have to get better, right? You have to get better. What is the best way of getting better? The best way of getting better is acquiring skills. The best way to acquire skills is to do things, right? So the best way for you to get better is to work on great projects. Okay, great projects. All right? So you get better, you learn a new skill, you get to work on a better project, on a great project, right? When you get to work on a great project, what happens? You get better, right? But that's not right. I know lots of people, they get better, but they never get to work on a better project because no one knows about them, because that's what's missing. What's missing is I get better, I share what I learn. And because I share what I learn, people trust me, and then I get to work on a great project. If I work on a great project, I get better, and then I have more things to share, and more people know about me, and I get to work in even better project. So now I get better again, and then I share, I get to work on a better project, and I get better again, I share, get to work on a better project, I get better again, I share. That is the spiral of growth. Once you enter that spiral, once you do those three things, that's when your career is going to explode, right? Because now you get to work on great projects. Work on great projects make you better, and then you have more things to share, and that's just the cycle just repeats, right? I've interviewed dozens of Java champions, right? All of them have some form of this, right? The sharing could be an open source project, could be books, could be articles, could be YouTube videos, could be anything that you want. You get consultants. Consultants grow the same way, right? They share by using social media. We just had a conversation today with Manny from the UK, for example. Manny is a consultant. He gets, he does all of these things because he shares. So sharing, visibility is what's going to get you to work on the most amazing things. Now, visibility by visibility's sakes doesn't do anything. Visibility is not the panacea. That's, I'm just visible and that's okay. So I just do something very stupid. Everyone in the world knows me and that's great. No, that's not how it works, right? What it works is you build these skills, right? You do things, you build these skills by doing things. And that is going to allow you to collaborate with people, to create trust, right? And so now people trust you. So now you can have visibility by sharing. And then when you share, what happens that, by sharing, you get to collaborate even more, people trust you even more, you get more skills, and that's the whole cycle happens over and over and over again. Make sense? Sharing makes the work more enjoyable too. Amazing, Barry. That's very, very true. Neha says sharing is caring. Very, very good. Okay, so yes, amazing, amazing message. All right. Okay, so we only have actually we said 1 hour, right? But 1 hour is a little bit over the top of the hour, so maybe I'm already run out of time here. So
1 hour-ish. You're okay, Bruno.
All right. Okay. Yes. Okay. So yeah. So I had 5 more minutes here, but I don't see any more questions. So if you guys have any more questions, last chance to ask questions. I mean, I see 20 people watching now. So come on, that's your last chance to ask any questions before we have to close here. But but for me, I'd like to thank everyone. Let me just kind of say this. I've been to the New York JavaSIG twice in my life, right? So, but I was there. Just to participate in the meetings and, go have a beer with everyone later on. But that's the first time I'm officially a speaker on the New York JavaSIG. So I was looking forward to this. Thank you very much. It was a big, big honor to be here with you guys. And I don't see any more questions. I think that there's an after party. I think everyone's just waiting for the after party. So that's great. So one thing I want to say is that the next meeting for New York JavaSIG is going to be Quarkus demo. So there's a URL right there in the chat, right? So we want to have Bruno come to the Garden State JavaSIG group. Okay, yes, Neha, let me know, and I'm be very, very happy to join this, right? The after party is a different link, right? So yes, so there's the after party. I know there's a different link right there. So if you want to join us, go to the YouTube chat and click on the link and join us on the party, right? We're thrilled to have you as a speaker. Thank you very much, right? I think Gianni was the one who wrote that. So thanks a lot, Gianni. Thank you very much for having me here. And thanks everyone for you that are watching this, either watching live or watching recorded. Thank you very much. We all here, all of us, everyone in New York JavaSIG, all these speakers, we're doing this for you and with you. So thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed this talk here, and I hope you show up for the next one. Thanks a lot, everyone.
And Rodrigo gets to finish that with closing announcements. Good luck, Rodrigo.
All right, Rodrigo.
I can do better than Bruno. So thank you very much, Bruno, for being here tonight.
Thank you.
We really appreciate, and I really want, when things go back to normal, I want to have you as a speaker here. Then we can go for beers as well. The other 2 times you were here, I was not involved with the jug yet. So hoping to see you on your next trip to New York. So as I said, our next event will be on June 22nd. Will be about Quarkus. So it will be a demo about Quarkus. Follow us on Twitter so you get notified when the registration is open, and I believe it's already open. So if you're following us on Twitter, you will know about it. We have our after event party. If you have some minutes, come join us. It's a chat. There is no topic. We can just talk to each other, meet each other, talk about whatever if you need. So thank you very much, everyone. Bruno, hope to see you there. If you have 5 minutes.
Well, actually, I'm bringing Juggy with me for the party. How about that?
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much.